I am back and recovered from little soiree of a flu and a stomach bug provided by my little plague rat. Hopefully we won't do this again anytime soon. Anyways, story time. Broken Glass, written by Chucky Snow. It wasn't on purpose, not really, though the intent was certainly there. And while the supposed victim has instigated the fight, and certainly thrown the first few punches, and discharged the weapon first, the other combatant hadn't meant it to end the altercation so decisively. The remaining fighter stood over his victim. He didn't try to flee, and if anything was going out of his way to take responsibility. The other patrons of the bar, standing at the edges of the room, were a mixture of horror and curiosity. They had given the aggressor just enough room to do what drunk aggressors often do, find someone to pick on. So long as it wasn't them, well, who were they to judge? But the response of the intended target cleared every chair. The local constables were quick to arrive. It was noted by a few regulars that the constables took this guy seriously enough that they sent more than usual 2 officers. "All right, break it." "Oh, are you the one responsible for this?" the chief constable said, realizing the fight was over, but also seeing what remained of the challenger on the floor. "Yes, sir, I'm afraid I did this to the Razunian here," the human said, pointing to the dead soldier on the floor. The human kept his hands in the open, and if anything, shrugged a bit. The constable was cautious and kept his stunner aimed at the soldier. Meanwhile, another constable was already putting up video feeds of the bar and replaying them on a tablet. As the entire altercation had lasted less than a minute, he was able to watch it and replay it for his commander in short order. They kept one eye on the video and one eye on the human. As they watched the video, they subconsciously took a step away from the soldier. The video showed the Renusian being loud, belligerent, and inebriated, moving around the bar and bothering patrons of a few different species. None took the bait, as few creatures wanted to take on a 2-meter-tall, 150-kilo drunk Renusian. The red alien was walking around, boasting of his superiority over the others in the room. Then he came upon the human. The Renusian slapped a large paw against the back of the human and spilled some of his drink onto the soldier's suit. At this, the human slowly stood up, but showed no signs of aggression. The Renusian took this as an invitation and threw a haymaker punch to the human's chest with an arm that wasn't holding a drink. The human barely registered the hit and told the Renusian to sit down. This enraged him, and he threw his drink to the side and tried to grab the human. The human in turn peeled a red menace off and tossed him to the floor, screaming, and unsheathed an energy weapon, shooting the human point blank. It scorched the human's suit by his left shoulder. For the first and last time, the human punched the Renusian in the face. The Renusian dropped to the floor and began leaking fluids. The chief constable looked at the human with a cautious eye. "What species are you?" "I'm a human. Officer Jake Martley, Terran Alliance, sir," he stated, still holding his hands out to his sides. "Do you have a prior connection to this Renusian?" "No, but not with any of his species. But I wish I had, sir." "Oh, really? Why is that?" "Well, maybe I would have known how fragile he was," Jake said sheepishly. "Fragile? That's not a word I've ever heard someone call a Renusian. Is that a powered suit by any chance?" Oh, no, sir. We aren't allowed to wear mech suits except live exercises. This is all fabric. I'm just here on some R&R. Somewhat rest and relaxation, sir. Officially, I'm off duty. I just came here to get a drink. I wasn't looking for any trouble." The chief was silent. The video was ample proof of self-defense. The Renusians were infamous hotheads. He was more than a bit surprised that the security updates hadn't mentioned humans before. He'd have to write an update himself when this was over, and include the altercation video. Then a thought hit him. "Soldier, how many humans arrived with you to this station?" Sir, my ship, the TSS Valiant, has a complement of 309 humans aboard." 309, he thought. He would have to cordon off a bar or two for the exclusive use of the humans. Otherwise, this wouldn't only be a Renusian with a jaw pushed back through the back of his skull. Turning to one of his subordinates, "Get this cleaned up and find out what ship he came from, and when you do, show them what happened and let them know the human is sorry for what he didn't know that they were so fragile. Hopefully, this will make them think twice about retaliation." The chief let the human go, but warned him to steer clear of certain species. As he and the rest of the bar watched the human leave, he hoped the rest of his shift would be quiet, but it probably wouldn't. End of Story 1. Story number 2. You Could Always Cast Slug, written by Thelonious Howe. The paladin had just enough time to slam the door closed before the pursuers caught up, managing to use himself as a sort of makeshift barricade to prevent it from being rammed open. "Well," he strained, as something slammed into the door, "I think we're going to die here." The barbarian had fallen some hallways back and was likely already torn to shreds. The cleric was on the verge of unconsciousness. The wizard had run his mana dry. The ranger was down to 3 arrows, and there was much doubt about the bard's soothful singing would quell the goblin army. Even the paladin himself had shattered his blade. It was quite apparent that all hope was lost. "We most certainly are not," the wizard huffed as he sat on a bit of nearby rubble. He rummaged around in his bag a bit, withdrawing 2 very bizarre belts, one each holding a multitude of peculiar red and off-white tubes. He donned the belts, but not as one would assume. He put one over each shoulder, letting them hang diagonally across his torso, and slowly removed a mysterious wooden steel quarterstaff from his back, gently placing it on his lap. "And that rare artifact is going to be the one that saves us," the paladin grunted sarcastically, and the door gave another great shudder. The wizard gave a quick tug on one of the bowed parts, creating a terrifying sound, much like a clashing of steel, and dropped in one of the red tubes. "It is not a rare artifact, not rare at all. You can just walk into a Walmart and buy one," the wizard replied. The ranger instantly became intrigued by the tale, as the wizard gave a pull to the odd bit of wood forward, and flipped the staff, shoving a second off-white tube in it from the strange belt. "And what, pray tell, is a Walmart?" The wizard chuckled a little as he pushed forward the wood, creating a sound again. "Oh, it was glorious! Though it was filled to the brim with all sorts of magic, I could feel no mana coursing through it. Whatever it was that fueled that great beast, I could not detect it. It was a whole market square crammed into a building. They had all sorts of wondrous contraptions and devices." The ranger was captivated. The bard was too. They both had seemingly forgotten about the impending death just lay outside the door. If a wizard this season could be so impressed, surely it must be a place worth hearing about. "And how in all the heavens did you ever find such a place?" "When I went to the high mountain gardens to practice meditation, I begged my patron for the most powerful of relics, and for the first time in my 82 years, he listened. A portal opened in front of me, and a soft voice invited me to walk in. When I arrived, the ground was unnatural in make, too hard and too hot, but I had a run of luck that particular day." Another red tube slid in the staff, "for I had arrived just as the local was corralling his horseless carriage, and I implored him that I needed to find mighty weapons, that I may cripple our foes." I'm sorry, a horseless carriage?" The wizard loaded another of the off-white ones and waved the ranger off. "Yes, but that's not really relevant, nor even that impressive. Now, where was I?" "Any time," the paladin called, the sounds of splintering wood heralding poor omens. "Ah, yes," the wizard exclaimed. "The local was friendly, very friendly, but his accent was so thick I could barely understand it. It seems he comprehended me just fine, as he just pointed to the large blue and grey structure and beckoned me to follow him." Another red tube. The door began to visibly crack. The paladin strained, but the wizard seemed wholly unbothered. "I'm very glad my new-found guide was so accommodating, and when we all got out of here, we should have a toast to the noble Billy Joe and hails from the house of Bob." The others relaxed, if just a little. The confidence that this wizard had that they made it through fine eased their spirits. "Because the things that he showed me, the secrets that sat out in the open for all to see, were wondrous. They had weather while from frozen plains, but kept it in one section to keep the foods fresh." The wizard slid one more off-white into the staff. "You could buy field accommodations you throw in the air, and in the blink of an eye would set themselves up, with no evocations or chance. You can buy a whole week's worth of rations that would not rot, nor would it spoil, all for one silver serpent. Devices you could carry that could harness the power of the winds, both tornado and hurricane alike. Strange and arcane place was this market of Wall. Magical artifacts abound. I couldn't even fathom to dream. The last little red tube was thunked into place. But this right here is their crowning achievement, he said, as he tapped the staff in his lap. This is a Winchester Model 1200 Defender. It is a 6+1 gauge, 2.5 3/4-inch monster. Just alternatively loaded double-aught buck magnum and barbed flechettes. The wizard rose from his seat and waved his hand dismissively at the paladin. Please move, he said quietly. The paladin obeyed immediately. He definitely feared whatever it was going towards the door more than what was going to come through it. As he levelled the staff towards the unguarded door, the party caught a faint flash of teeth under the big, bushy beard. I may be out of spells, but I ain't out of shells. End of story. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Caspar Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.